and welcome to this webinar brought to you by the MPSA. My name's Deborah Hawkins. I'm from Keypoint Intelligence and I am a member of the board of the MPSA. I will be the host for today's session, which will be a recap of the latest and greatest from Printing United, the show held last month in Orlando. I have a great panel here to talk to you today, but before I introduce my guests, if I may take a moment to remind you of some housekeeping. This is a live stream that is being recorded, and you can always go back to it and replay it by visiting the MPSA LinkedIn page. If you have questions for the panel today, please submit those during the webinar in the LinkedIn chat feature. And we would also appreciate if you could follow the MPSA on LinkedIn. For those of you not familiar with our association, we are a group of industry experts that provide community, education, research, and best practices to the industry. This session today is an example of some of the great things that we do together for your benefit. And if you're not already a member, we would encourage you to join us. There are many benefits for members, such as live streams like today's. We also have a number of committees that we run to influence initiatives. There's networking, there's awards, there's accreditations, as well as there are insider groups. So there's lots that you can benefit from. Being part of the MPSA has many great benefits, and also listed here a very attractive price, if I might add, many opportunities. So if you are here today for free, we would really appreciate that you sign up and join our association so that we continue to do great things for you. Enough of us, let's move on to the real content here. Let me introduce my guests today. We have Matt Raab. Matt is the Director of Global Portfolio Marketing from Xerox. Thank you, Matt, for joining us today.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
We also have Dustin Graupman. Dustin is the Senior Director, Inkjet Business at Kyocera. Welcome, Dustin.
Thank you, Deborah. Glad to be here.
And my colleague, Sacristan, who's the Group Director of Production at Keypoint Intelligence. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Deborah.
So, we're going to talk about Printing United. I wasn't there, but I've heard that all of you were. So, I've heard that there was lots of energy on the show floor. Maybe, Dustin, we can start with you. What were some of the major themes and trends that you saw coming out of the event?
So I think for me, there were probably three things I walked away with. First, I didn't get enough time out of my booth. So it's sometimes difficult being one of the vendors to get an objective view of everything, but did get an opportunity to visit some partners and get around. But for me, probably the three themes are partnerships. So increasingly, I think what we see is there's a lot of OEMs that it's difficult to have a full broad portfolio of solutions that are all manufactured, developed, and delivered internally. So I would say that increasingly we see OEMs partnering on everything from distribution to development of products. So I think that's one thing. Those partnerships extend beyond just the OEMs too. There's dealers that increasingly are partnering with more OEMs and different vendors. And us personally at Kyocera, we announced a number of different accessories to enable new applications with customers. So those partnerships extend to finishing partnerships also. Of course, inkjet is always a big theme, and it's a little parochial for us to talk about that because that's really our entire production print set of solutions is based on inkjet technology. But it continues to be a common theme across the board. Just about every OEM has some inkjet strategy in their portfolio. And then the last is one that I haven't kept as much of an eye on, but embellishments certainly seems to be an area where there's a growing interest, a lot of different solutions from the high end to the low end to embellish print to drive more value. So I think those are probably the three themes that I walked away with.
Super. And Matt, I think one of those partnerships is right in there with Kyocera, right? Did you want to say some more about that?
Yeah. And I think I would kind of mirror what Dustin said, right? I saw certainly the growth in the partnerships between the OEMs, and that ranges from everybody from software to hardware to a mix of those. So that was definitely on display almost in every booth that I visited, and I like Dustin didn't have much time out of my booth because it was a very busy show for us. I would also agree that inkjet is was a theme across the OEMs. You're definitely seeing those strategies come together and take a step kind of to the front. I agree also that digital embellishment was big. I mean, there was a company there named Tactiful that was actually doing embellishment tours, and so they were, groups of 30 to 40 people, a couple of times a day, going and visiting the various embellishment offerings, and that's everywhere from devices that print to finishing equipment. You name it. So that was definitely kind of front and center. And then again, I think there is kind of a movement where we're seeing not just the device as the center of the conversation, right? It really is the software that drives the device, the workflow, really kind of this ecosystem that each OEM is kind of bringing to market, wrapping technology around the hardware itself to make things more efficient. And again, I think to really focused on helping drive cost out of the business for a lot of the print service providers.
Okay, and Haman, I know you were not stuck on a specific booth, right? So you were floating around the entire show time. Were there any major trends that have not been mentioned that you want to mention?
No, I mean, I'm very impressed for these two guys that they didn't leave the booth, and just the way that they summarize everything. Oh my God. Definitely the embellishments, the inkjet and the automation, they were the biggest things. Now I'll get into a little bit more details. Obviously embellishments, I think that pretty much everybody had embellishments. And I'm more on the commercial side, so I didn't go around much, around the packaging or labels or any wide format or anything. So I'm just focusing on commercial publishing, that type of thing. And yeah, even Canon had embellishments, offline embellishments with their partnership with Skandacor, sorry. Sharp had embellishments. Everybody really had embellishments. Now, when it comes to embellishments, and based on our research, this is very, very loud, and actually is getting louder. Now, from idea to implementation or execution, it goes a long way. And we don't see the shares as we would like to see them. And it's not because it's irrelevant or they is not relevant, the embellishments, because embellishments link very well to any print buyer's communication objectives of capturing attention, elevating the perception of value. It's just PSPs are still struggling to sell embellishments more in a strategic way versus on, look how pretty my embellishments look like. And at the end of the day, it's nothing to do with being pretty. It's something that is functional for the print buyer. So that's why I wanted to say. On the inkjet side, obviously inkjet is getting louder and louder, but not many vendors had their presses on site. It was good to see the Heidelberg Jetfire, which is the Canon IX3200 on display. In a way, maybe surprising, but maybe not to see Komori there with a B2 press, inkjet press. Definitely, we were expecting to see the new Canon IX1700, which is being at every show. And that machine really fills a good gap in the market between toner and digital for low entry digital and all of that. Still, they don't give samples away, but it was there on the floor doing demos, and is expected to be selling to strategic accounts now and stronger later. And then I just finished because I know I'm talking too much, but I was the two vendors that impressed me the most. Actually, they are the vendors that are here, and we didn't plan this in advance. And I let them build on it too. But Dustin or Kyocera surprised me for two different reasons. The first reason is because the 55,000C is not there, which has always been there, and I let Dustin talk about it. But I was very impressed with Kyocera's solutions around the 15,000 with a Plugmatic inline booklet maker, which Plugmatic is a very good partner. We all know that. And they were running and also inserting high coverage, quality covers and creating these booklets that look very good. I'm very impressed with these roll feds fitting into the Kyocera 15,000C, partnering with TechNow, which obviously increased productivity and even probably reduces cost of paper and that type of thing. And the top of the top was that they were talking about a tandem Kyocera 15,000, which is 2 engines, and now could be running at close to 300 prints per minute. So surprise on the 55,000. You know, it was very good to see all those solutions because that's what helped customers. And on the Xerox side, probably Xerox was definitely the vendor that announced more new products at the show. Most of them, they were pushing what they were really announced, and it's not like makes Xerox better, but it was a good timing issue, a good timing for Xerox, and they had all the replacements for the Versans, the Proficius 300, 500, and obviously the new IJP 900. So now I'm gonna be quiet, and you guys maybe want to say something because I put you on the spotlight. So.
Oh, that's fine.
maybe
I'll take a quick, fill in some of the gaps of what Herman said. So for those that do not know, at previous Printing United, we had brought essentially a technology demonstration of a new platform of inkjet press that we will be bringing to market called the 55,000C. And really what that is it's focused on coated paper applications. So different ink technology, different printhead technology, and really the challenge that we're working through right now and really getting to the late stages of is a very interesting drying technology, which is critical in this. So we made the difficult decision to not bring the product now because we were really focused on getting it to market early next year. So the engineering team in Osaka, Japan is 100% laser focused on that. I'm excited to be able to go there in a few weeks and see exactly where they're at. But we're really excited about the results, but really even more excited about getting those into customer environments sometime in the middle of next year to start to really get customer feedback and input. But that product will be, I would say, is close to competitive face-off to the IX 1700 from Canon as we see in the market, certainly in our portfolio. But we appreciate the comments about the accessories and the enablements, because that's really been the theme for us at the show, was one, focus on things that we've enabled right now that we can show customers, but also to extend off of the platform to be able to deliver more automation, as Matt said, more capability to enable more applications. And lastly, the tandem engine is something we got great feedback on. We think there's a huge opportunity in the market for that 300 page per minute inkjet device.
You just mentioned the customers, Dustin. Who did you see at the show? Were there new dealers as was expected, or was it predominantly print service providers? Was it existing customers? Was it new customers? Tell us a little bit about that.
So I would say that we saw a whole range. A few new dealers, but frankly, we've enabled a lot of dealers on this platform. What we see is this: the majority of our activity through the dealer channel is consolidated, almost the 80-20 rule. So, the top 20% of our dealers that are enabled are doing a significant volume. They have the presence in the production space and focus and reach to be able to do that. So we had great meetings with them. All of them seem to be pretty excited about the things that we displayed, and of course they're still also anxious for the 55,000C. So that a lot of customers, existing customers. I have never worked for a company that has such loyal and vocal advocates for our platform as what we have. So it's always good to see them and hear from them, and candidly, a lot of them that are there are talking about not just the accessories, but expanding their footprint of our equipment. And then lastly, new customers. But the thing that stuck out for me with new customers is they're very educated. They know what is out there with the technology. They understand the landscape. They understand the partnerships like that we have with both Ricoh and Xerox and how that might fit into things. So I would say the education goes beyond just walking in and asking about, tell me about this inkjet press. They know the capabilities. They understand the investments we're making and where we're going things, which is good for us because we think that, we prefer an educated customer rather than having to educate about all things inkjet and Kyocera.
Is that the same for you, Matt, that this is a place to showcase your technology and to meet new clients?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, again, as Herman said, we showed publicly for the first time three new presses. One are based on our partnership with Kyocera, so our new IJP 900 inkjet press. In addition, we showed two new products of our Proficio line, which are 5-color toner-based devices. We had a lot of conversations and a lot of interest from our dealer and partner community, probably more so than I had seen in the past. And that includes probably more international presence than we have seen in the past at Printing United. So we had a lot of folks from Latin America. We had some Western Europeans there, and people as far away as the Middle East. And most of these were partners that were interested in either seeing the technology or having a conversation around, what specifically Xerox's direction was. But I would also agree, many of them came in very educated about what they were looking at and what they wanted to do with that, and had really good questions about how it would fit into their existing businesses. So that conversation has somewhat changed a little bit, I think, from traditionally it would really be more of an awareness conversation where we're trying to build awareness, but that was not the case. They were coming with questions, very specific questions about how the offerings fit, and we also showed a new product that is still in its infancy, but again is on the software side of things. But it's a partnership with Adobe that will focused on democratizing embellishment, so making it easy for anyone to design that using generative AI. So we're seeing the AI push come in as well, and that was another thing that I think drew a lot of attention, where I think most of the interest there was just what is this and how is it going to impact things, were a lot of those conversations. So it was very good, and again the dealer community was well represented in our booth.
Super. And Herman, was there anything that you saw on the show floor that really turned your head that you didn't expect to see?
No, I already mentioned that. I mentioned definitely Kyocera caught my eye. Not trying to be nice to Dustin, but I have to be fair and with all those solutions, and Xerox to my eye also. Is not because he's here, but I was expecting those printers to come on the show. I was expecting those announcements. So that not really, but it was impressive. It catches my eye that Fujifilm is pushing really hard electrophotography and toner, but they have inkjet stuff. And inkjet is one of the loudest things, and still the balance there, my perception is like, obviously the jet press wasn't there, obviously the roll-fed inkjet, it wasn't there, and I'm not sure what's going on with that machine. But in general, it's such a big push for toner, and that keeps surprising me. What is surprised me is that we talk about the big three themes, right? Matt and Dustin talk about them: embellishments, inkjet, and AI, right? Or automation. It surprised me on the AI. This is very personal. The imbalance of utilizing AI between production efficiencies is a lot going on there. It's just predictive maintenance, energy, look at waste, look at reduce usage, make it easier for the operators to operate and for the technicians to fix all the efficiencies, right? Even security, image quality. But I don't hear enough about AI on the effectiveness part of it, of driving print volumes. How do we utilize AI to drive more print volumes in a market where print is going up on price? It's becoming the Rolls Royce of the channel because it costs more. We have to sell the value. And there's stuff that AI can help, predictive marketing, predictive analytics on a marketing campaign, forecasting. And I honestly believe that digital printing, especially digital printing, from a communication standpoint, I'm not talking about technology. If it delivers such a holistic and organic way of communicating, which is targeted and customized. And we've been talking about this for a long time, but this is before print, 3,000 years ago. The most holistic way of communicating is, targeted, customizing, and that type of thing. Still, we're struggling with that. And I feel that if AI gets involved as it kind of like tracks data, it will make more natural recommendations for digital printing, especially digital printing of a better communication, more effective communication, which is more targeted and customized. And I honestly believe that that's a great opportunity. And some of the vendors, they will say, well, this is not my thing. Why don't you go talk to Adobe and Salesforce and HubSpot? Because it's true, they have tools that they do multi-channel campaigns and then bring the value of print there. But that, for me, is the biggest disappointment overall, not at Printing United, but in general, the imbalance between the production, how we use AI on production. And yes, we can be amazing on production, but if there's no print volumes to be printed, then you can be fully automated. There's no print volume. So I think that we need to push harder on the print volume side to do a better job. That's my personal
So Herman, you're really coming at it from the print volume side. If you think about those impacts to the industry in general, inkjet embellishments, AI, you think AI is at the moment having the least impact on our industry, but it has the potential for the future that's not being utilized yet. Is that right?
Yeah, potential on that side of predictive marketing analytics and using AI to make better recommendation on not just the content of the campaign, but the channel that should be used, all the channels that should be used. And if we get there, I bet that digital printing is going to come out stronger because, again, the holistic way of what digital printing does in a communication campaign.
What about you, Matt? How do you see that? What's going to have the biggest impact on our industry if you think about the next 3 years out? Is it going to be inkjet? Is it going to be embellishments? Is it going to be AI or automation?
Yes. I think all three. I think all three of those. And I think inkjet is certainly, it's one of those. It's one of those technological shifts that we're seeing, right? That's really unavoidable. And that's not to say that all the technologies don't have their place, because if you look at embellishment, if you look at more of the 5-color, 6-color digital presses, right? Those are toner based in most cases. So it really is a mix of those things. And again, I think the conversation around embellishments is really making it easier for people to do that. And AI has a big role to play in that. There is a special skill set that's typically required to do embellishment. And so really the race to make that easier and easier, to put it in the reach of more people is fully on. Like I said, we were showing a technology that we are developing that leverages some Adobe technology that makes it so a designer can literally use everyday language using generative AI to embellish a piece, right? Give me a clear watermark made of stars, right? And it actually generates that and puts that in the layout. So I agree that we're seeing that kind of in its infancy, but those things will continue, I think, to get louder and louder, and really all of those things will become, have big impact over the next 3 years.
Dustin, what about you? Are you more towards inkjet? It's going to have the
Well,
biggest
I am a little
impact?
bit more towards inkjet, and I'm learning a lot listening to Herman and to Matt. Very interesting. And say just one comment about Matt's discussion of using AI to make embellishment more democratized is a great phrase for it. I think that's really welcome, honestly, in the industry, because I think that the potential has been there for a long time for these. It is, a lot of the software that drives images is competing for attention across many different channels: email, online, text, everything else like that. And for all of them, it's been either RGB or CMYK. They really haven't looked at multiple dimensions and embellishment. So that's encouraging to hear that that's where the industry is going to make it easier, and that a huge brand like Xerox is behind it with Adobe. For us, I would say our view of things is a little bit more pragmatic, as a relatively new entrant into the production print space, focused on inkjet technology. A trend that we hear from customers, we hear from dealers, partners like Xerox, is the aging population of technicians is driving companies to have to change their strategies as they go forward. Not so much the OEMs, but the end customers. And where we think inkjet really is transformative there in answering the request. I don't know the validity of this, but generally, directionally, I think it's right that some surveys say that the median age of technical service people in the field is in the late 50s. And so, I've even heard as high as 60, and that's just not sustainable. And so we think inkjet answers that question. It forces some hard decisions about, how do we transform our business? What does break fix look like? What does our business models look like? But we think that, my phrase is water finds its level, no pun intended. But if the technology's out there that can be highly reliable, a lot of operator serviceability aspects, that technology will find its way into a customer site as a solution. But so for us, leveraging partnerships and relationships like we have with Ricoh and Xerox and others and dealers, to be able to provide our technology to those end customers, we think is like I said, a bit more tactical but pragmatic view of what's going to drive change for us and our customers in the coming 3 years.
Okay, so maybe let's focus a little bit on those dealers, because the MPSA is very much an organization of dealers. What should they be looking out for? You mentioned, Dustin, break fix is what will break fix look like in the future? What does that mean if they come to Kyocera today and are looking at inkjet devices? What should they be thinking about around break fix?
So I think first and foremost is the skill set to break fix service inkjet. That's the first thing. Is very fundamentally different than toner technology, but I think those skills are relatively easily attainable. I really think the bigger challenges are around impacts to business models. So, based on whatever applications the end customer is producing, they can benefit in the cost economics, which can be a small fraction of what they are with toner technology. But at the same time, the dealer's requirements to be on site to break fix is tremendously lower. So it's both enabling, but it's also forcing kind of a reconsideration of what that looks like. I would say most of our, as I said, are more active dealers that are moving equipment. They kind of see this. They see what the benefit and the opportunity is. It's a little less of a risk to their business model because it's still fairly small. But I think if most people look 5 to 10 years down the road, as we introduce solutions that are really focused on coated paper and drive success around that, it's going to have a significant impact on the range of solutions that are out there for production print. And the early entrants that are learning about what inkjet brings and what the challenges are probably the ones that are going to be most successful in the longer term.
And what about you, Matt? What's your message to dealers today that are looking at production print?
Yeah, so it's very much like Dustin said, right? The break fix element of that, the support piece of that, is really what makes or breaks success there. So if I think of trying to add something new to what Dustin said, is really, I think, the opportunity for the dealers specifically is to understand where their strength is today and how adjacent that is to production. Production is not something that anybody can jump into. However, there are organizations that are set up and very close to delivering that type of support anyways. One of the things that we're very focused on at Xerox, aligned with kind of what Herman was talking about, is the predictive AI piece, right? And that's not just predicting when a product may need service, but it also extends to, having a more clear and thorough understanding of what the problem actually is, and extending that knowledge base down into the people servicing the devices, to the dealers and to the partners. And that takes, a lot of pressure off of that, right? If they know how to solve the problem on the first visit, which is a problem we've always been focused on, but we continue to leverage new technologies to do that. So, I think for me, a lot of the dealers, it really is a matter of looking at what they do well today and figuring out how that fits into the production conversation, and where maybe there isn't a fit, definitely recognizing that and putting a plan in place to develop the things that they would need to kind of fill that gap, to fix that problem.
So
And come on.
just add one thing,
go ahead,
because Matt actually triggered a thought for me. Something that we are talking to dealers about regularly, and this is no bold announcement here, but what is the trajectory of our product portfolio and others, competitors and partners' product portfolio, in terms of bringing inkjet further down market and understanding in the light production space, both monocolor, what is our strategy, and what can they anticipate? And something I see that is an opportunity for us at Kyocera is we have something that we think is unique in the office space, which is called the tiered color plan. So essentially, we've got 3 different tiers. Our software essentially scans whatever the documents are and has a commensurate click charge with how much toner is being used. I can envision bringing AI into the conversation, using that technology on the upfront to be able to direct prints to an appropriate output device. So, potentially in a managed print environment, if something is conducive to being run on an inkjet platform, whether it's a production or light production or office, if it's more conducive for that, to get the benefits of the economics of it being done up front, and then vice versa, if it's something that's a bit more challenging, heavy coverage, perhaps critical color, then it can go to a high-end toner device. So I think there's a convergence of all this stuff, and for dealers, that their conversations aren't just around what can the product you have today do for you. It's really where are you going, and is this a strategic partnership that we should be analyzing and investing in?
Yeah, certainly. And Herman, is it your feeling that more dealers are interested in production print today?
Yes, not just my feeling, but yeah, when we
You have the numbers, right?
Yeah, we, in general, obviously, that's what we do, market research and all that. You get that more are interested, obviously, because production is growing in general. There's some areas within production that are not growing, but in general, it's growing. Print volumes are bigger. The annuity business might be bigger because of those print volumes. The manufacturers, they also incentive that business model going through the channels, obviously, for the right reasons. And there are many out there. We did a survey. We asked print service providers, and 61% buy from dealers. So sometimes we have the perception that these guys, they don't buy from dealers. No, more than half buy already from dealers. Most importantly, 91% they were happy buying from dealers. 7% were neutral, but 2% were unhappy, which is good. And it makes sense. The reasons why, when we asked them, was like, well, the range of products that the dealer provides to me, they obviously pull from so many different sources, right? So I appreciate that, and being local, they're flexible, quick response, easy to call them. Most importantly, they know my market. So all the networking and everything. So that's amazing. Now, there's always some of them that they say that they rather to deal directly from the manufacturer, and I think that that's more a perception of, maybe I can get a better price from the source or things like that. So I think that is a challenge for the dealers and the manufacturers to put that peace of mind to the print service providers, that is they are gonna get the same deal, and actually the local guys, they are gonna help them better if that's a business model that both are interested, because it's still a little bit of an ego. Like, I feel more comfortable buying from the manufacturers, even though, like I say, 91% they're very happy, and the majority of them, of the customers, they deal with dealers. So it's a big opportunity for sure.
So Herman, I
Yeah,
think there's a shifting dynamic that is kind of probably intersecting what you say, and of course there's a lot of consolidation that's happening in the dealer network. So what that, from our perception, drives is a growing footprint, so an ability to service over a bigger region. So for those PSPs, they like the fact that they can have single points of contact deal with one business relationship, rather than where they have multi-state, regional type businesses. They can do that, and that, I think, has always lent itself to working direct with the OEM, because you can achieve that. But so I think the dealers, just by the nature of that trend, are able to answer more of those requirements. But I think the local service and responsiveness is a big piece of it. So I think it's but both those things are just trends that are happening that are accruing to dealers being able to be more responsive to those MPS type environments and the larger opportunities.
Yeah.
Do you see the same thing, Matt?
Yeah, I think so. Definitely, and I think an important element to that is to ensure that from the dealer perspective, that you've got a strong relationship with the OEM, right? With your partner. Servicing is more than just showing up, right? It's a complete supply chain of needed parts, of needed supplies, kind of all of those things. And that's really where the larger OEMs excel, right? Is ensuring that supply is there in place, can again help and advise the people doing the service and support and even the sales of that, right? What level of support can they expect, from the OEM themselves, right? And does that extend clear into their business to help them focus their efforts on their client, right? Because we know that the partner really, they're there to serve their client, and they do it very well. And the local aspect of that is one of those things that you consistently hear in conversation, is that it's, the organizations that have a strong dealer or reseller that they work with. There's a very strong, I think, local element to that. They know them. And so, really, again, from the Xerox perspective, we're focused on helping our partners solve their clients' problems, and we want to understand where we can help them do that better. And so, a lot of the innovation, again, when we go back to the AI conversation, a lot of the innovation in our industry is actually happening behind the scenes. It's not something that anyone sees firsthand, other than their uptime is better, their reliability is better, their response times are better. A lot of that is actually AI helping us in the background do those things, right? And so extending that in through all of the routes to market, including the dealer channels, is a big focus of the industry, and certainly at Xerox.
Great. Some really great insights here. We need to kind of wrap the discussion up, though. You have one last chance to tell us what might have turned your head at the show that somebody that wasn't there should definitely be opening their eyes to. Herman, do you want to start?
Yeah, again, and this, I think that we're hitting the horse, whatever is called that English expression. Probably I can say in Spanish, but nobody will understand me. But yeah, it's just all the part of the embellishments. Think, okay, the price of print is going up. We need to sell the value of print. So all these embellishments all this e-connectivity, QR codes, NFCs, augmented reality, special papers, special finishing, personalization, customization, they are going to play a big role because we need to push the value of print. And that is the value of print. The rest is more a commodity. So embellishments is part of it. We are going to hear more of that. If we are going to hear more of and keep hearing more of others. The simplicity and the uptime of inkjet is just the productivity, the lower cost we are going to keep. So I don't think that is going to be in the future is not a wow, something super new. I think that everything is on the table. We are going to hear it louder, and we are going to hear it and see it being implemented strongly. So, let's implement what we have on the table, which is very, very strong. And I think that will be my wish. So it's going to get a return that we need for the industry.
That sounds great. I think we'll close with that. Sell the value of print, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you, gentlemen, all of you, for joining me today. If you enjoyed today's session, please sign up for the MPSA and support our cause. That's all from us today, and have a good one.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.